right, strap in, everybody. Today we're going deep on Freeway Rick Ross, the drug lord, not the rapper, although they do kind of cross paths later. Wild story. We got his book here and some background from Wikipedia. Ready to go.
It's a fascinating deep dive because Ross's story isn't just his. It really gets into the whole crack epidemic, the Iran-Contra affair, like a snapshot of a whole era in America, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing how one guy can be tied into so much. Okay, so we start in South Central LA. Rick Ross, good at tennis, aiming for a college scholarship, right?
Yeah, really talented. But there's this, well, a problem. Ross couldn't read, so no college.
Man, that's rough. Like, literacy can make or break your future that young.
It shows how the system's stacked against some people. And for some, like Ross, the drug game seems like the only way up, even though it's obviously dangerous.
Right, so that's what he does. Starts small time, learning the trade, get this from an upholstery teacher. I mean, you can't make this up. But he was ambitious right from the start.
Oh, yeah. He had, like, natural business smarts, even dealing drugs. Went from grams to ounces to kilos to a whole network across cities.
And then everything changes when he meets Danilo Blandon.
Blandon, he was Nicaraguan, exiled, and he had connections to some seriously cheap, pure cocaine. Like, way better than what Ross had seen. That connection, it changed everything for him. He could undercut everybody and just flood the market.
Wait, hold on. Nicaraguan exile, 1980s. We're talking Iran-Contra now, right?
Oh, yeah, we're going there. This is where Ross's story gets into global politics and secret stuff. Gotta give a little context here. Iran-Contra, huge scandal during Reagan's time. U.S. selling weapons to Iran, trying to get hostages back.
And this is when we weren't supposed to sell them anything,
Yeah.
right? Embargo and all that.
Exactly. But it gets even crazier. The money from those arms deals, it went to the Contras, these rebels fighting in Nicaragua. Congress said no way to funding them, but Reagan's people found ways around that.
So how does Blandon, Ross's cocaine guy, fit into this?
Okay, this is where it's murky. This journalist, Gary Webb, in his Dark Alliance articles, he said Blandon was part of this network, bringing cocaine to the U.S. The money, it went to the Contras.
Hold up, you're saying Freeway. Rick Ross, without knowing, might have been part of a CIA drug operation to fund a secret war. Sounds like a movie.
It does make you wonder about, you know, the government's role in the drug trade and what they were willing to do back then.
Wow, this is getting complex fast. So Ross, possibly linked to this massive scandal, is building his empire.
Yeah.
How big did this thing get?
Huge. Millions a day, thousands of employees, that's what they say. He was smart about it, using police scanners and stuff, made deals with gangs like the Bloods and Crips to move his product.
Like the Kingpin, the cocaine CEO.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this thing in his book that surprised me. It wasn't all about money and power for him.
Yeah, what's interesting is that Ross did some things with his money that you wouldn't expect. Like, it showed there was more to him than just being a ruthless criminal.
Like investing in Anita Baker's first album. It's a detail that makes you think, you know, this guy built his empire on cocaine, but also had a thing for music. Saw something in this young artist.
It shows he's complicated. People are rarely just one thing, even when they're involved in stuff like this.
Right. So we've got ambition, history, and maybe even a tie-in to a huge scandal. And this is just the start. We haven't even gotten to his arrest, the legal fights, or the rapper with the same name.
Oh, yeah, we're just getting started. There's a lot more to uncover here.
Okay, so last we left off, Freeway. Rick Ross is at the top, millions coming in, maybe even tangled up with Cold War stuff. But empires, they don't last forever.
Oh.
Ross, he got busted in '96.
Yeah, big sting operation. Tried to buy like over 100 kilos of cocaine from an undercover agent, and because of his past convictions, he got hit with life in prison. California's 3 strikes law, that's what did it.
The 3 strikes law. I know the name, but refresh my memory. What's that all about?
Basically, you get convicted of 3 felonies. Doesn't even matter if the third one is small time. You're looking at life in prison. Supposed to be for career criminals, repeat offenders.
So it could really nail someone who messed up early in life, even if they went straight later.
That's the criticism. People say it's too harsh, doesn't look at each case fairly. Some say it scares people straight, others say it's just plain unfair.
Well, for Ross, it was like, that's it, game over. But here's the twist. In prison, he learns to read.
Yeah, not only that, he gets into the legal system, studied law books, like hardcore.
Hold on, drug lord turned jailhouse lawyer. What did he find?
He thought he found a loophole, how they used the 3 strikes law on him, appealed his sentence, said his old convictions shouldn't count for a life term. The way the law was written, it was tricky.
And guess what? They reduced his sentence to 20 years. Got out in 2009. Shows you, even when it seems hopeless, things can change.
Makes you think, right? About the whole justice system, especially that three strikes law. Is it really about fairness or just punishing people no matter what?
Heavy stuff. But his legal troubles weren't over. Remember the other Rick Ross, the rapper? Their stories, they collide in this crazy legal battle.
This is where hip-hop, copyright, and like what it means to be a person all come together. Freeway gets out, finds this rapper using his name, making it big.
I bet he wasn't happy about that.
Nope. Felt like the rapper was cashing in on his life, stealing his name, his whole identity, said his publicity rights were being violated.
Publicity rights? Sounds like lawyer talk. What does that even mean?
Basically, you have the right to control how your name, your picture, your likeness is used to make money. No one can profit off you without your okay.
So did Freeway have a case?
It was a tough one. The rapper's name was the same, his music talked about drug dealing, he even acted like a kingpin, kind of.
But he's an artist, right? Can't he get inspiration from real life?
That's where the First Amendment comes in. The rapper, with Jay-Z backing him up, they said it was artistic expression, free speech, protected.
So it's like one guy's right to his own name against an artist's right to create. Who won?
The rapper. The court said using the name Rick Ross was art, protected by the First Amendment, and that he wasn't directly making money off the real Rick Ross.
Tough break for Freeway. But even after that, after all those years locked up, he didn't just disappear.
He reinvented himself, wrote his autobiography, tried managing boxers, even got into the legal marijuana business.
Like he's trying to build a legit empire now, just like his old one.
It's interesting, right? Makes you think about redemption. Can someone like Ross, with his past, really change? Can they actually do good in the world? Big questions for all of us to think about.
Before we get into all that, Ross, looking back on his life, what he's doing now, there's that one thing we got to address. The Iran-Contra affair, that claim that he was part of a CIA drug operation, even if he didn't know it. We got to go deeper on that.
Okay.
So we've talked about Freeway, Ricky Ross's rise, his fall, the legal stuff, his second act. Now we've got to circle back to this whole Iran-Contra thing. Feels like a spy movie.
It does, doesn't it? Remember Blandon, Ross's Nicaraguan supplier, the guy with the cheap, high-quality cocaine? Well, this is where Gary Webb's work comes in.
Dark alliance, right? The articles that said the CIA was tied to cocaine trafficking, funding the Contras in Nicaragua.
That's the one. Webb said Blandon was part of this whole network bringing cocaine into the U.S., and that the money, it went to the Contras, even though Congress said no way to funding them.
So Webb's saying Ross was basically caught in the middle, benefiting from this cheap cocaine from Blandon, who was supposedly linked to the CIA? That's a pretty big accusation.
Huge. It really shook things up, you know? Made people question the whole war on drugs. Like the government fighting drugs, but maybe helping traffickers at the same time, all for some political goal.
But I remember hearing that Webb's work was like really controversial. Not everyone believed it, right?
True, it was groundbreaking, but people really scrutinized it. Other journalists, they questioned his methods, his evidence. The CIA, they went after him hard. And the media, well, they kind of backed off the story after a while.
It's actually pretty sad. Webb, he ended up quitting his job at the newspaper. And a few years later, he took his own life. It shows the risks that these investigative journalists take, you know, when they go up against powerful people.
No doubt. Really makes you think about what's at stake when you try to find the truth. And even now, we still don't know everything about how involved the CIA was with drug trafficking back then. Some people, they believe Webb 100% that he exposed something really dark about the U.S. government. Others think his reporting was flawed, exaggerated the whole thing.
So where does that leave us? More questions than answers, it seems like.
Yeah, kind of. But that's part of why Freeway Ricky Ross's story is so interesting. It makes us think about history, you know? Makes us question what we're told. And it shows us that things aren't always black and white.
The world's complicated, right?
For sure. And whether you agree with Dark Alliance or not, Ross's story shows how drugs, politics, global stuff, it's all connected. And it raises these tough questions. Like, what's the real cost of the war on drugs? And what happens when governments do things in secret?
Well, we've covered a lot. From South Central to drug lord to prison to maybe being tied to a Cold War scandal. What's the takeaway here? What should people think about after this deep dive?
The big thing is, even a story that seems simple, it can be way more complex when you dig in. Ross's life, yeah, it's unique, but it also shows how society, history, they shape people's lives. Not just his, but so many others.
You start to see that people's choices, they're tied to bigger problems. poverty, lack of opportunity, the temptation of easy money, even if it's from illegal stuff.
Definitely. It's a reminder to question things, to look at different viewpoints. The world's not always what it seems.
So for anyone listening who wants to know more, where should they start?
Ross's book, Freeway Rick Ross, The Untold Autobiography, is a good one. He tells his own story, talks about the drug trade, what he thinks about it all now.
And if you want to go deeper on Iran-Contra, there are tons of books, documentaries, you name it. Fascinating part of history, even if it's kind of messed up.
Definitely. And for anyone interested in the whole war on drugs, how it affects communities, there's so much info out there. Really important to learn about that and keep talking about it.
We've given you a lot to think about today. The story of Freeway, Ricky Ross. It shows that even in the darkest places, there's humanity, ambition, even redemption. It makes you think about crime, punishment, second chances, all that.
It does. And it leaves us with this question. Can someone who made money illegally, can they really turn their life around? Can they make a difference for the better? Tough questions. But by looking at stories like Ross's, we can start to understand those questions, understand ourselves, understand the world we live in.